Welcome to The Foundry, where leaders are forged daily. Each week we investigate themes of leadership, entrepreneurship, and mindset with some of the greatest minds in real estate. And now, the data scientist of real estate, George Roberts.
Welcome back, entrepreneurs. Today, I have an exciting and high-energy guest that's here to remind us that as real estate investors, we are also entrepreneurs. So we're going to dive deep into the world of entrepreneurship with someone who has helped hundreds of CEOs grow and scale their companies. If you have questions about how to automate and grow your business, I know you'll want to stay till the end because we're going to have a lot of great answers for you. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Preston Brown, who currently operates 18 businesses, including multiple 8-figure businesses. He is known as the Hippie Business Coach. Welcome to the show, Preston.
Thanks for having me, George. It's awesome to be here.
All right, great. Well, I'm very excited to have you here because, I've been following your stuff online. You've got a great online presence. I know you've been helping just tons of people get to where they need to be in their business. But before we dive deep, I want to make sure we have an opportunity to get to know you. And I'd like to ask you, when you're at a cocktail party and people ask, hey, what do you do? How do you answer the question?
I generally look at them funny and I say, do you want the long answer because you're really interested, or the short answer because you're just making polite small talk?
Right. All right. Well, hey, another way to dive into it is, a lot of people say, hey, what's in a name? But the Hippie Business Coach, I think that's a pretty cool one. So what's behind all that?
So the hippie business coach is kind of a new thing. And I'm not even coaching, but I've been called a hippie so often now. I mean, I just want to help. My goal is to help. I've always wanted to help. I don't like the word coach, I guess, but I do a lot of coaching, even though I don't take on clients. I don't charge for it. I put out information because I want it to benefit people. But the hippie business coach happened really probably in the last year. I started getting maybe a little woo woo, and when I say woo woo, I started connecting more with my faith. I have a belief like life is 4 cores: faith, family, fitness, and finance. And by faith, I mean, I don't mean religion. I don't necessarily not mean religion, but I mean like energy coming in, right? And like family energy expressed, fitness is health, well-being, vitality, finances, money. And when you answer all the problems and you solve everything around the money side, and there's not a need there, it's just wants. When needs are replaced by wants, you start becoming happy. And the money stuff figures itself out. The fitness stuff, you could kind of almost check the box. It's very, as Tony Robbins says, science of achievement, right? But then there's that art of fulfillment he talks about. And it's like that's where I've started becoming a little more hippie. It's like, well, what's the problem? What's the real problem? Why are you really doing this? And anyway, I've gotten called a hippie so many times that I just thought it was a fun tagline. And
Just own it.
yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. Well, I do appreciate that about your work. I see that you do really care about making sure people are living a whole life. I mean, it really is holistic. If you're not happy in one part of your life, it's going to spill over into the others, and talking about emotions and how that really impacts us. It's not just about nuts and bolts. We just talk about automating business and building cultures, business development, that stuff. That's great. But yeah, good stuff. Really great stuff. Well, one thing that I'd really like to ask you is, well, first of all, with 18 operating businesses, do we have to update that stat? I know every time I see an interview, it seems like it's a bigger number.
I counted it out the other day and I came to 17 because I got rid of one, but there might be one missing, so it may still be 18. And I don't operate like it's so deceptive, the word operate. I don't operate any of them personally. I have an incredible management team that thank God is there, which is a big piece of the automation puzzle, right? So, it might be 17, might be 18. I was making an account actually on a podcast 2 weeks ago, and I was like, man, I'm only coming with 17.
Well, good stuff. Yeah, so you talk about time. All right. So how do you get your time back, right? It's people. You got to train people, and it's not easy. And I think a lot of people, particularly in real estate, it's a great business. You can get pretty far in it easy to become a millionaire for many people, but you're not going to reach, Elon Musk status. So what would you say is the biggest problem for people when they're getting started out and they know that, hey, I got to go train a team, I got to build a team, but it's just so hard to let go. So what would you say?
Well, so the biggest problem, there's a lot of different big problems, right? So I've broken entrepreneurship down to 7 different stages. And I did that by measuring myself throughout my process as an entrepreneur. And you have different problems at each stage. So people fail to learn, they fail to grow, they fail to think that there's more. And really, they basically fail to know what they really want. Like if you know what you want, I mean, like what you really want and why you really want it, like, most guys that are going out buying a Corvette don't drive it to the full potential that the car has. They've never taken it to a track. They're probably not there for the speed. Like maybe they just want somebody to think that they're fancy. I mean, I call my McLaren my Prozac. Like if I'm having a bad day or my wife cusses me out, I go drive around in that car. And no matter who you are, you think I'm cool for about 30 minutes. I come back feeling amazing. It's Prozac. Why do you really want it? I don't need it for the speed. I definitely don't use it to its potential. I don't even have the skills. And business is very much the same. Like at any stage that you're at, if you have all the feeling of success in the world, well, why should you go on? Most people are moving forward because somebody told them they need to, or they're trying to live up to some standard that maybe their parents had for them, or maybe they watched too many, I don't know, reels on TikTok or Facebook, and they're thinking, oh, well, this is what it looks like. They're trusting the picture somebody else painted, right? I mean, it says in the good book, God made us in His image. Like, so we're not earners, we're not slaves, we're creators. Like, but you gotta get your own paintbrush and paint what you want for you. And so the biggest problem is people don't know what they want, I would say. And then the second biggest problem is they believe a bunch of BS. Like, the word belief, it's a root. It comes from 2 words: be, love, right? And a lot of our beliefs, especially the ones that are toxic, that make us go in the wrong direction, they're not very loving beliefs. And if you're getting what you want and where you're going and how you're getting there from something that's maybe a pain source, you're never going to fully enjoy it. So not knowing what you want and then not being open to learning new things are the 2 biggest problems. And then I'd say the last one is just languaging. Like everybody, you could have 10 people that speak English, but they don't all language the same. And in society where it is today, heck, if I go to somebody on the left during COVID and I say, hey, trust the science, and I go to somebody on the right during COVID and I say, trust the science, you're going to have 2 different definitions of the word science from these 2 humans, even though it's the same word. Nobody's going back to Isaac Newton, and so you got to figure out, what does this person speak? What's their dialect in their business nature? And once you know what they want, it's generally easy to help them get it, because business is just checking the boxes, right? Like, yes, it's training teams, but also there's huge technology. Most people don't know they're in the technology business. Most people don't even know what the definition of the word technology is. I mean, technology, like if you were a caveman, might have been fire, right?
Right,
Like,
right, yeah.
could have
To
been
me,
the
it's
wheel.
a means of getting things done, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you think of Henry Ford, the guy making the horseless carriage, and John D. Rockefeller was making heating oils, right? One of the wealthiest guys in the world at the time, or the wealthiest guy in the world at the time, making heating oils. Well, he was dumping waste products called gasoline into the rivers because, they didn't have any environmentalists yelling
Yeah.
about it. Well, it turns out that became a technology that would fuel this horseless carriage instead of going into the rivers. Often your waste products, your technology.
Love it. Yeah, totally true. Well, I love the idea of the discovering purpose, right? I think that's really what you're driving at here. If you understand what you're after, it's a whole lot easier to get at it. So how do you help people discover what their purpose is in life and as an entrepreneur?
So pain, and that's, going full circle into the hippie business coach thing, right? Like, so can I give you a short story and explain it that way? It might
Do it.
make,
I love stories. That's how we really communicate best.
yeah, facts tell, stories sell. And I don't even know how to explain this point in just a Q&A without a story. My journey when I was young, when I was like 7, 8 years old, my dad got cheated. We had a beautiful family, tons of love, but not a lot of money. We grew up in a little trailer park. My dad wanted the life we watched on TV, not the one that, we had in our trailer. And he went to work as an entrepreneur. He went to work as a creator. He stopped working for all these guys that wanted him to, slave away all day and give them the compelling future. And he didn't know things that he needed. And he frankly got cheated. I got to watch it. I was there, to make a long story short. And I hated the man that cheated him. I shifted my entire viewpoint at that stage of my life, at like 7, 8 years old, from love is the meaning of life and what a great family and my dad's my hero to my dad's a victim. My dad got cheated. He gave up on his dreams. I would rather kill or be killed than give up on my dreams. And I became a corporate cutthroat piece of shit. Obviously, I misunderwrote the moment. Okay. Like, I made this man who was cheating my dad for whatever reason, my enemy. Okay. And I spent most of my life, if I'm counting in years, it was 2019 that my dad passed away. And there was another moment. My dad left. So I'd gone out because money was the meaning of life, no longer love being the meaning of life. And I built companies, I built businesses. I was a corporate asshole. If you thought Donald Trump was harsh on the Apprentice, I did You're Fired way better than him, right? I was a complete dick. I was a shit husband. I was an absentee father. I was the picture that everybody has of corporate America. And really, inside, I was just a wounded kid. Okay. And losing dad, like, it was the worst day of my life. I'd never had such pain, but it was also the best day of my life. And I got to go and underwrite that moment. And luckily, I'd been through that entrepreneur journey where you're going from problem to problem to problem to problem, pain to pain to pain to pain. And I'd had to solve problems. So when I'm there at my house and I'm looking around at all these people and I'm experiencing that hatred at the same level again, because I don't think I'd experienced it quite the same. When that guy stole my dad's dream, or really my dad gave up on it, I shifted. I misunderwrote a moment. Well, then when I had the same level of anger and hatred, I was mad at myself for not spending time with my hero. I was mad at God for taking him, and I was mad at him for leaving. I was experiencing hatred again, pain again. And I had to re-underwrite. I looked around at all the people I love and I said, oh my gosh, I cannot fuck this up again. Like, I got into huge fear of, wow, I've spent all my time growing companies and scaling companies and doing what all these coaches and gurus teach me. And all I really wanted, if I could trade it all or 10 times more than all of it, I'd go in debt for 10 minutes with my dad. I'd do it. And so that pain got me to re-underwrite the other pain. And that pain moment gave me this purpose that, what if I can shorten that runway? Look, everybody needs pain. Pain is a gift. Okay. I think the meaning of life is twofold. It's a paradox. Love is the meaning of life and problems are the meaning of life. But if you read the book of Job, it's kind of interesting. The favored guy of God's, and here comes the devil. And it's like, yeah, go mess with him. God gave him problems. He overcame it. He got through at the end, right? And anytime where there's a paradox, is it love or is it problems? Then you get this beautiful thing in the middle called faith. And so I took that problem as a gift and I said, wow, well, what if I can figure out a way to solve the problem for me? And I did. Now I've got an amazing marriage with my dream girl, and same girl that I was fucking it up with before, yes. Only now I give her time. Like, I didn't lose the girl, thank God, and I have a beautiful, compelling relationship with my children. I have great companies. I have great relationships with my staff. I have great friendships. Like, I'm on speaking terms with everyone in my family, which most entrepreneurs really can't fucking say, and so I solved the problem for me, but I did so by automating the companies. And go figure, what I was searching for the entire time, my waste product,
right?
Everything depended upon me. I never trusted anyone because I couldn't trust because of the initial problem when I was 7, 8 years old, because everybody was out to get you. And once I started trusting, I got the freedom that my dad was chasing. You find somebody's purpose through their pain. The greatest moment of pain in your life is also the single greatest opportunity, the single greatest lesson, and the single greatest truth that, if you underwrite it properly, can take you to the greatest joy. It could be loss of a loved one. It could be, loss of a relationship. It could be something bad that happened to you. But whatever it is, like, when you take radical responsibility and then you compound yourself into forgiveness, then you can find a better meaning and something far more compelling. And, now when I get them all the time, I get at least one a week. And somebody's messaging me some success that they had in business because they watched a fucking reel or something. Hey, dude, I did my first $1 million in revenue. Man, I get a rise out of that shit. Like that to me is it's up there with some of the top moments of my life, and I get to relive them. And I know that's purpose because of how it feels.
So I love that. I wanted to ask you more about problems because I know you've got a great approach to dealing with life's obstacles. So is it the radical responsibility? Is that what allows you to go back and re-underwrite those moments?
I think it's radical responsibility. Yeah, and you break it down. I'm a formula guy. Everything needs a formula. Radical responsibility, but you have to merge it with things. You can't just go straight with responsibility, because there's things that you're not responsible for, but you have the ability to respond to them. So response able or able to respond, reverse it, and you can underwrite it. So it's kind of radical responsibility mixed with radical curiosity and this willingness and openness to be like, okay, well, what am I supposed to learn here? Is God really throwing me a curveball? Either he hates me, or maybe he wants me to figure something out and he believes in me highly. Which one is a better way of looking at it? Like, you want a better life, the better question will get you in a better direction, right? And so you start, let me give you a quick formula. This formula for anyone that uses it, anyone that uses this simple little staircase formula will become successful. And I don't care who you are, what you do, how you do it, your way, your innovation, your technology, anything. If you take this formula and you say, okay, well, I'm no longer going to hate problems. I'm no longer going to say, I wish I had no problems. Life would be really boring if you didn't, right?
Yeah.
And instead you say, I'm going to get close to my problems. I'm going to understand them. I'm going to take a moment, like a little moment of stillness, some time for being, right? And being that in that moment, it gives you a gift. It gives you the gift of time. And if I bring my problems close to me and I study them, like I would study my Bible, like I would study my wife, like, people say, oh, never question God. I say those people are stupid, right? Because if you're not questioning God, how can you learn more about him? If you're not questioning your wife, how can you learn more about her? They say men don't understand women. Well, maybe we don't ask enough questions. I'm not saying I understand women, but I know more about my wife than I did last year, and I ask a lot of questions. And so you get close to that problem in this step of being, and you take the time to study your problem as if it was a partner in life, right? Then once you've studied it, once you've understood it, all of it, you take the next step. Being goes to becoming. You make a decision to take action, okay? Becoming gives you another gift, because when you're moving, when your action is going to create a result of talent, you're going to learn something. You can measure something. Does that make sense? So time graduates to talent and becoming. Being, becoming, believing. Once you've measurably seen something change, maybe you solved the problem, maybe you grew as a person, maybe this, maybe that, you start believing. And the word believe comes from be love. And there's another gift here, and it's called testimony. Facts sell, or facts tell, stories sell, right? So once you have a new story, then you have a new identity of what's possible. Like, human beings are fascinating. I love psychology and I love economics. But our identity is it's the prison of who we are, and it's the prison of who we get to be. And what's interesting is if we go with kind of the yogic culture's explanation of identity, where there's this unlimited identity, if you can learn, you can grow, then all of a sudden you can start growing what you are. Like this real estate between your ears, that gray matter and that 4 or 5 inches between your ears is the most valuable real estate we have, right? So you go being, becoming, believing, and next one, belonging. At this point, you've not only learned, grown, changed your identity, gotten your story, but belonging comes with a gift. It's really cool. It's got some treasure to it. And we're no different than Pavlov's dogs. We get rewarded, we're going to do it again, right? And so all of a sudden, it encouraged us to learn more. It encouraged us to become more. There's one more. You don't have to do it, but it's part of the law of reciprocity. It's the law of giving, right? Like if I want to smile, I should smile at you, because when I give it, I might get it back. If I want, more wealth, I should be generous. Not necessarily with my money. If I don't have any, I can be generous with my time. Then be generous with my time might get people to want to do more with me, and then I get more money. What if you wanted to be better at learning? Teach something and you will learn it at a far greater level. So blessing is interesting, because blessing gives you two gifts where every other step gave you one. You get truth and the opportunity to trust it, which most people won't take. Most people stop there. Most people trust an expert, some spurt that already happened, and they never get to the next level. So being, becoming, believing, belonging, blessing, those 5 stages of problem solving, if you operate with them in order, will change your life. And it doesn't matter where you start, because if you just start doing that daily, what's my greatest problem today? How do I study it? What should I do about it? You know, if you could become 1% better than you were yesterday, what's a year later? 365%? Well, you know, we all overestimate a year, but we radically underestimate a decade. Okay. When I was getting a company valued, I was thinking about selling a company, and I wound up not selling it. I was going to do an ESOP. But when they came back with the valuation and they told me it was north of $100 million, I was like, oh, I didn't know I was that wealthy. I didn't know I was that successful. I had no fucking clue. It wasn't about the money. Now, that was like an aha moment. And it's amazing the amount of clarity I got in, oh gosh, this automation thing, it not only set me free, but it's the missing piece of the puzzle. We think everything depends on us. You know, it doesn't. It really depends on your faith, right? Like, even if you go back to the good book, and I don't mean to make this like a religious talk, but I reference the good book because it's part of my story. But you're saved by grace through faith, right? Like, you know, the gal reached out and touched Jesus's robes and got healed. He didn't say he healed her. He said, because of your faith, you are healed. Well, what are you faithful in? Faith's just another word for belief. What are you believing in? Maybe I'm explaining why I'm the hippie too right now. I love problems. Maybe I'm masochistic with problems, but I think problems are gifts, and everyone should dive into them because that's your greatest source of opportunity and learning.
Yeah, beautiful. So yeah, here I love that you're just eminently quotable. Here's a great one. If you want to have an epic life, have an epic story, right? And you've never heard the story that didn't have a problem. And love that. Just wanted to kind of throw that out there to the audience. You know, when you say, you know, I think to distill the essence of what you're saying is that if you give what you seek, you show that you already have, you know, that which you desire. I've heard it said better than that before, but yeah, really good stuff. Very, very deep stuff. So with so many businesses and such great success, can you kind of just walk us through some of your time management hacks?
Yeah, sure. I mean, time management, I get this question all the time. They're like, what's your routine? And I love and hate this question because people are looking for a hack, right? And I feel like a hack is a cheap shortcut. I have no routine. I have a routine for my day, but not for my morning, not for this, not for that. When I wake up, I generally go get my coffee, sit down, and I just take time to think of what is the problem that would be, at this point, the most fun to solve. Okay. And I like to say I put the FU in fun, right? If there's a problem that's stressing me out, then the fun part's going to be reducing my stress. If there's a problem where I get to see, you know, maybe my kid's going to excel at something, like he's going to act in a play at his school or something like that, and I help him with something, then I'm going to get to see the result of that later. Like, what's the problem that's the most fun to solve? And then I study it. Like, time management, I think, is solve the biggest problems first. Most of the others go away. It's well, do you know what the word Satan means in ancient Aramaic?
Tell us.
Crazy thought. So, like, you know, we all go listen to all these religious people, and I think religion is a great way of avoiding hell, but spirituality, like, there's a lot of talk about the Holy Spirit, right? Like, that's going there, conquering the motherfucker, and coming back victorious, right? So if the word Satan means crazy thought, then think about Jesus on that 40-day fast or whatever that he was on. And he was like, Satan comes and says, why not turn that stone into bread? Get behind me, Satan. Get behind me, crazy thought. What is possessing most people? It's not the things that they should really be worried about. find the real problem and solve it, and you're going to be successful. Can I tell you another story? I'll tell you without mentioning this girl's name. I had a realtor walk into my office, and this is 5, 6, 7 years ago, and I'd just been sitting and thinking a few days before, and I'd written down faith, family, fitness, finance, right? And I put another Post-it note on my monitor. And this realtor walks into my office, and she demands that she needs coaching, and it was one of my companies that I owned, but I, was coaching folks on Wall Street and other large-scale investors, and my ego did not tell me, oh yeah, I want to be coaching this realtor, but I was dividing the company at that point, because I was taking a guy out of the company, and realtors tend to go with whoever the most prolific personality is. And so of course I didn't want to lose her. So I sat there and I listened to her, and she started telling me about her business. She wanted to get to 6 closings a month. She was having 1 closing a month, and 6 closings a month is not that crazy, but if you're at 1, or I'm sorry, she was 1 every other month, so 0.5 a month. She wanted a 12 to 100% gain in her business. And I looked at her, I said, okay, well, it's all doable. When? She says, I need it in 3 months. Oh God, 1,200% gain in 3 months. And of course I sat there, and in my head, I'm thinking it's impossible. In my head, I'm thinking, oh, this, that, the other, I'm not gonna be able to do this. I'm wasting my time. She might as well go with the other guy, screw her, right? I said, but my thought was, well, let's just listen. And she started talking about her business, and she kept venting. And it was interesting because she would vent and vent and vent about these 4 kids, lots of love. But then this husband character who was very stressful to her. And you could tell there was love there, but there was a ton of pain. And I had never coached a woman on marriage, or anyone on marriage really at that point. And I'd always been a business coach. It was always check the box. How do you get from point A to point B? It's measurable, right? Like, we've had money for 40,000 years of human history in some form or another. There's been trade and transactions, so it's measurable. And I'd never gotten into family. And I looked at this Post-it note sitting on my monitor, and George, I did what might be the dumbest thing for a man in Me Too America at 4:50 p.m. in the afternoon, with a pretty girl sitting in my office crying about a husband. I said, tell me about your husband. And all my staff's leaving, and I'm thinking, oh shit, man, I've got a girl telling me about her husband. I don't know if I want to be here, but I thought, well, I'm going to listen. And you could hear her talking about the lipstick she'd found on the collar. You could hear her talking about the notes she'd found. And so the obvious implication was the guy might be cheating, right? And this went on for 2 hours. So I think it's 6, 7 o'clock at night. And I'm just listening to this, and I am like deer in the headlights. But then I realized, wait a minute, well, goals in business are the same as goals in family. I said, what do you want? At this point, I think I just wanted to go home. And I was like, what do you want? Women would probably be in one of 2 situations here. I want to kill him and bury his body in the desert, or he's the man of my dreams. I want him back. Which is it? And she was like, he's the man of my dreams. I don't know what I did wrong. And you get moments, bro. And these moments are these little but God moments, right? And it hit me. I said, well, you said you had 4 kids, right? Now, it wasn't even me talking. It wasn't me talking to her at this point, but it was words coming out of my mouth. I said, you said you have 4 kids. She said, yeah. Well, did you know that oxytocin, which is the love hormone in our body, when a woman is pregnant, she develops more oxytocin by a factor of 10 than a man will ever get in his body in his entire life? And she said, oh, I didn't know that. I said, well, yeah, well, if love is one of the meanings of life, then you've been trained 4 different times, like Pavlov's dog, ring the bell, they come for food, ring the bell, they come for food, that the meaning of life for you, love, is the love of your children. And I said, okay, well, let's, and obviously I'm giving you the far more efficient part of this because we went on for another hour or 2 with her. I said, the girl that you think he's with, which was some girl at his office or whatever, a younger girl and all this, I said, is he really interested in her, or could you have changed? I know women in general have 3 archetypical personality types. Like us men, we have 1, right? We always want to be a superhero every day of the week. I said, but women, you guys have 3. There's this playful, high feminine, beautiful creature that attracts the man. There's this half masculine, half feminine creature that raises the children. Okay. And then there's this queen, this badass bitch. My wife says the word bitch is babe in total control of herself. She's amazing. And she will like pick up a spear and defend her children from another tribe of invading men. And if the men are gone and there's nobody to protect, right? Like, so, you know, this heavily masculine. I said, well, if you've got these 3 archetypical personalities that make you up, and you've had 4 children, 4 massive oxytocin dumps, could it be that you are, because of your meaning of life around love with children, you're being the mother? And I looked at her and I, you know, blunt as hell, I said, I don't know any man that's ever wanted to fuck his mother. What if he's not looking for, you know, another woman? What if he's looking for the you that he first met? And bro, like, no bullshit. This is a story of failure. I failed, okay? I failed because she did not hit her goals in 3 months. It took 4. We never had a financial coaching. By month 1, she had gone out and started doing a little bit of homework I gave her to kind of go tap back into her. She took up a dance class and things to make her feel good, to feel whole or whatever, right? So that he didn't need to complete her. She completed herself. And he disclosed the relationship. He never went too far. He kissed the girl. He didn't do anything worse, but he apologized. And he had come back to her. And by month 4, she closed 6 deals that month. And I never gave her a financial coaching. And it was like, wait a minute. So you're telling me you need to go close 6 deals a month. And she wanted to go close 6 deals a month so she could support herself because she'd lost the man of her dreams, which was part of her dreams. And what we had to underwrite was, what was really there is she needed to reaccess a point of her. What's the real problem? You're looking for a solution in money. But how are you going to go chase money if you don't even feel loved? If you have no compelling future in here, how are you going to be there? So, I mean, the time management hack has solved the real fucking problem. I wish I could have helped her in 3 months. It'd be a cooler story, but, you know, fuck it, I'll take 4.
Yeah, I love it. Solve the right problem. Very good. Very, very deep. Listeners, I want to thank Preston for a great first segment. We had a lot of talk about figuring out how to live that purpose-driven life and how that helps you become a better entrepreneur. In the second segment, we're going to dive even deeper into that. He's going to share some of his techniques in how to live that purpose-driven life and how you can literally supercharge your entrepreneurial career just by whipping your life into shape, learning to ask the right questions, radical responsibility. Thank you, listeners, for joining us today, and look forward to catching you on the flip side.